A vote that is completely up in the air. Three major pollsters predict different outcomes for the upcoming election in Bangladesh. With election campaigning at an end, we take stock of the opinion polls to see who could come to power in Dhaka. Also ahead, a significant trade deal is signed between the US and Bangladesh to ease tariffs. We break down the agreement and its key deliverables. Plus, will Larry the Cat have a new resident in 10 Downing Street this week? Prime Minister Keir Starmer gets the backing of key cabinet members but continues to face calls to resign over his handling of the Epstein files fallout. If he does go, could Britain have another South Asian leader? We look at who's in the mix. And after the Iran-US nuclear talks failed to secure a breakthrough, Iran rejects a core demand being made by Washington to seize all uranium enrichment. Hello and welcome. You're watching RT India. I am Osama Shab, live from New Delhi. We have a packed bulletin ahead with major world developments, including our top story. Bangladesh will vote this Thursday for its next government. 18 months after the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she was removed from power in a student-led uprising. Three major polls have been released over the past 2 days, but all of them paints a very different picture of the outcome. And that is especially true when it comes to the strength of the frontrunners, the BNP-led alliance and Jamaat-e-Islami bloc. In fact, here's the first projection. It puts the BNP-led alliance firmly in the lead, eclipsing the Jamaat-led bloc. The second forecast, well, it has a decisive win for the BNP, with Jamaat only picking up a small share of the parliamentary seats. And the final survey, well, it has the two parties here neck to neck, with Jamaat slightly winning the race over the BNP. Now, as polling day nears, voters, they are facing not just competing political messages, but sharply different versions of how things will pan out, highlighting the uncertainty facing Bangladeshis in the coming day. In fact, a Hindu trader has reportedly been stabbed to death in Bangladesh in a shocking reminder about the security concerns ahead of the election. The 62-year-old man, he was found inside his shop having been attacked by a mob, according to the police. Safety for minorities, it is an issue that has been voiced multiple times, with worries over the protection of the rights, political representation and personal security. And as voting day approaches, minority groups, they're watching closely how parties respond to their fears. In fact, Rashad Ahmed, he filed this report from Dhaka. Take a look.
Bangladesh heads into historic elections. And for the first time in decades, there will be no Awami League on the ballot. For minority communities, especially Hindus, who had traditionally backed Sheikh Hasina's party, the voters now comes with uncertainty and fear.
For decades, minority communities here largely voted for the Awami League, seeing it as the safest political choice in a deeply polarized country. That option no longer exists.
Longtime Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who was seen by many as a secular face, was forced out of power after the student uprising in July 2024.
The political space has since been dominated by the BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami, both right-wing forces. The Jamaat has even committed to Islamic rule in its manifesto. The minorities are uncertain on which way their vote will go.
I was born into a religious minority family, so I am a minority, but I am also a citizen of this country. Whether they belong to the majority or minority communities, everyone together makes a diverse Bangladesh.
Minorities make up around 9% of Bangladesh's population. They are small in number, but they have played a decisive role in closely fought elections. This time, many from the community say they feel politically unrepresented.
The election would have been better if it had been inclusive. Only then would it truly reflect the will of the people.
The Bangladesh Nationalist Party of the late Khaleda Zia has protection of minority rights as one of its campaign promises. The Jamaat-e-Islami too insists that minorities have nothing to fear.
শহীদ প্রেসিডেন্ট জিয়াউর রহমান সংবিধানে BNP founder President Ziaur Rahman included "in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful" in the constitution. However, it was later excluded. If we win the upcoming election, we will include it in the constitution again.
This Bangladesh belongs to everyone, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians alike. No one will live in a culture of fear. If anyone attempts to attack others based on religious identity, we will resist it in the future.
Reports of a surge in attacks against minorities and minority institutions in recent months has raised the stake further. Media reports say at least 11 Hindus have been killed in targeted attacks in December and January. The Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council documented at least 51 incidents of communal violence against minority communities in December alone, including murders, arson, theft, and assaults. Things are very different from the tolerant, secular Bangladesh they once prided themselves in.
Minority voters are asking a fundamental question: who will protect their rights in a new political order? 12th February will be also an indicator of where minority hopes now lies.
And slipping quietly under the radar ahead of the election, a new reciprocal trade deal between the US and Bangladesh that has been finalized. It will see tariffs on Bangladeshi exports cut to 19%, reportedly from 20%. RT India's Vinayak Dikshit, he breaks the deal down for us.
US will cut the reciprocal tariff on most Bangladeshi exports to 19%. This is down from 20% after previous negotiations. Additionally, Bangladesh will give preferential entry to a wide range of American industrial and agricultural products, including machinery, medical devices, energy products, dairy, and even poultry. Now we come to the most important change that has come as a part of this deal, which is that Bangladesh has agreed to permit the free transfer of data across trusted borders. This basically means that cross-border data flows between the two countries will be allowed without restrictive localization rules. Let me explain this a bit further. Under the trade agreement, Bangladesh has committed to avoid imposing broad data localization restrictions that would block legitimate cross-border data transfers. Mind you, countries like India and Nepal, among others, have declined from this kind of a transfer previously. Going ahead, additionally, Bangladesh will support keeping a ban on custom duties for goods and services delivered electronically, such as, for example, music downloads, e-books, software, and even digital advertising. The agreement also helps build legal certainty for e-commerce and digital platforms operating between the two countries.
And we are now joined by former Secretary of the Indian Commerce Ministry, Ajay Dua, for more insight. Mr. Dua, thank you very much for speaking with RT India. You know, the tariff cut has been from 19% to, from 20%, I beg your pardon, to 19%. My question is, has Bangladesh traded long-term policy control for this marginal tariff cut?
Thank you for having me in this discussion, Mr. Sama. If you would recall, the first tariff, reciprocal tariff imposed was of 37%. Only in the month of August last was it reduced to 20%, or was it September? And now it's been brought down to 19%. Certainly, it's from 20 to 19 is not a major step down, but what is important is that understanding has been reached between the US and Bangladesh on a wide range of trade, investment, IPR-related issues, which makes it a kind of a long-term arrangement for economic cooperation between the two countries. And I think Bangladesh is happy to have been one of the earlier signatories of such a bilateral deal with the US.
Mr. Dua, in this particular trade deal, there is also talks of data transfer commitment that have been made, and it is also being seen as a major concession on data sovereignty. The question is, why do you think has the Yunus regime agreed to such an agreement, and that too just 3 days before the elections?
Yes, the timing of it is important, significant. It will go in favor of the ruling party, if they are supporting anyone openly or otherwise supporting a particular set of people. Certainly it will help them. But having said that, I think the Bangladesh, given its population and the fact that the literacy level, including digital literacy, is pretty high in Bangladesh, it is to make use of such talent which exists in Bangladesh. The US is looking at and saying that what comes from India today to the US, that is trained manpower, that can also be made use of through under this agreement from Bangladesh. So there is a kind of a long-term thinking which has gone on there, and Bangladesh seems to have agreed because they have said that all these transfers of data from one country to another would be formalized. There would be no customs duties on it, but at the same time, that Bangladesh would protect and enforce strict IPR laws which are internationally followed and about which the US has had certain issues with India ever since we amended our patent law in 2004. They, at that point of time, they didn't quite agree to our provisions on evergreening. And then when we had to tell them that we've done nothing wrong, everything what we have done is in line with the WTO requirements, then they started talking in terms of we do not have a proper enforcement machinery. So they have been careful to talk about that with Bangladesh, saying having a regime which is which will protect IPRs and also enforce it. That means a dispute resolution mechanism would also be placed, would be positioned. So Bangladesh has agreed to do that, and I would consider that as a win-win situation for both, because today the reliance of Bangladesh on exports of garments, clothing and garments is almost 80% of its total exports to the US. And to the US, it currently exports $8.4 billion worth of merchandise, of which 80% makes it about 6.6 billion or 6.7 billion is only garments. It would therefore like to diversify and have other kinds of exports from Bangladesh to the US. And the US has also played its card, I would say, carefully. In the sense they have said, yes, we would like to encourage you to send.
All right. That was Mr. Ajay Dua talking about this trade deal between Bangladesh and the United States. The big question still remains, should India view this as a cautionary example? Well, we'll have to wait and watch. Clouds are circling over Downing Street as the Epstein files continue to rain on Keir Starmer's premiership. Two of the Prime Minister's closest aides, they have quit in recent days, and now calls for Starmer's resignation are building, specifically over his handling of the Epstein scandal. Among those calling for him to step down is the Labour Party leader in Scotland.
The distraction needs to end, and the leadership in Downing Street has to change. It is so obvious that we desperately need change in Scotland. And in 3 months' time, the opportunity to get rid of a failing SNP government is one that is too important to be missed. We cannot allow the failures at the heart of Downing Street to mean the failures continue here in Scotland. Because the election in May is not without consequence for the lives of Scots.
Well, the recent Epstein files release has rocked politics in Britain, with former UK envoy Peter Mandelson at the centre of the storm. Now, this entire controversy has already claimed high-profile scalps. Aside from Mandelson, two of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's key aides, they have resigned. It has left question marks over judgment, accountability, and what Downing Street really knew about the links to Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, opposition voices are now seizing the moment, demanding Starmer step down over his handling of the scandal and deeper failures. But this entire controversy has also flamed speculation over who could actually replace Starmer if his time is up as leader. Now, much of, one of those very much in the reckoning is a South Asian origin MP, Shabana Mahmood. Shabana Mahmood was born in Birmingham to parents of Pakistani origin. She represents a new generation of Labour leaders shaped by urban Britain and minority communities. In 2010, she entered Parliament as one of Labour's first Muslim women MPs. She assumed the role of Home Secretary in 2025 and has adopted a notably tougher stance on migration, arguing that permanent settlement in the UK, it is actually a privilege and not a right. And she is a trusted ally of the under-fire Prime Minister, playing a central role in shaping the government's domestic agenda as well. And that is why Mahmood is increasingly being viewed as a future leader for the Labour Party. In fact, minority communities taking up positions of power is a growing trend at the top of British politics. In fact, the 2024 general election delivered a record level of representation with nearly 90 ethnic minority MPs in the House of Commons. Of these, 66 are with Labour, underlining the importance of the minority political support and also helping to consolidate the victory in the 2024 general election. These numbers are quite striking. There are 29 MPs of Indian origin, at least 15 MPs of Pakistani origin, along with 4 with Bangladeshi backgrounds as well. In fact, earlier, we spoke to Prateek Dattani. He's the founder of the Bridge India think tank in the UK, who said that this episode, it has put public trust in mainstream politicians to rock bottom.
A lot of the previous controversies Keir Starmer has been involved in have been about U-turns and policy mistakes the government has done. This one is very much about the quality of politicians, how much we can believe politicians when they say we knew about this or didn't know about this. And that's been very much the argument that right-wing parties and right-wing MPs in the UK have been making, that the mainstream politicians you simply cannot trust. Trust is at the core of this. Now, I think all observers in the UK would probably agree that Keir Starmer acted late on this. And the reason the trust question came up because he took very slow steps initially. He acted very late. And this has come back to bite him quite significantly. Labour traditionally has been the party of more progressive politics and including minorities. But actually in the Conservative government, Conservatives gave Britain Rishi Sunak, and there were 4 or 5 Indian origin cabinet members over the last decade or so. Labour, if you look at their front bench, there is not a single South Asian there. David Lammy is black, and then Seema Malhotra isn't a full member of cabinet, and she's Indian origin. Yeah. So Labour has actually been pretty poor at promoting minorities. So if somebody from a minority background does make it to the top, what a great advert that would be for the Labour Party. I think if the party can take such a risk, maybe that will stand them in great stead.
In an RT exclusive interview, Tehran says it is ready to prove it is not creating nuclear weapons. RT's show the Sanchez effect caught up with the Iranian presidential advisor, who said that it will not negotiate on ballistic missiles, calling them essential to his country's national security.
I just want to make sure our viewers all over the world understand where we are. Iran says no sanctions. Please get rid of the sanctions. They're hurting our people. The United States says, okay, but only if you promise not to enrich enough uranium to make a nuclear weapon. Very simple agreement. If the United States lifts sanctions, is Iran willing to do that?
I have nothing to do with this issue that was mentioned. That is a decree by the Supreme Leader. We have previously announced that we do not seek to develop weapons. Now, Iran is fully prepared to relieve the West and the East's concerns about nuclear weapons. Whatever they want, we are ready to provide guarantees and not pursue nuclear weapons. But the other side should also know that we should be able to live a dignified life. The sanctions are very heavy, and they have hurt the Iranian people. So we definitely want to get something in return for what we give. We have no problem or obstacle in this regard.
What about the ballistic missile issue? Mr. Trump is saying he wants Iran to give up some of its long-range ballistic missiles. Is Iran willing to do that? It sounds like the president and Mr. Arachi are saying no.
Regarding missiles, Iran will not have any negotiations and will not enter into talks. Missiles ensure Iran's safety. Just as a few months ago, although we did not have airplanes and could not defend ourselves in that way, missiles were the things that were able to keep us standing on our feet.
Last week in Oman, talks were held on Iran's nuclear capabilities with the United States. American President Donald Trump described the Oman-hosted mediation as, quote, very good, while his Iranian counterpart offered a slightly more comprehensive summary. Listen in.
The new round of nuclear negotiations, which has begun in Oman with the assistance and support of our neighboring countries, represents a very good opportunity for a fair, logical, equitable, and mutually acceptable resolution of this issue. We seek to secure our rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, including in the area of enrichment, as well as the removal of unjust sanctions. The Islamic Republic of Iran, for its part, is taking steps toward the success of this process and hopes that the other side, without excessive demands, will remain committed to its obligations, so a desirable outcome can be achieved.
Despite the talks in Oman, Washington's military presence in the region isn't backing down. The U.S. has sent a considerable fleet of warships to the Gulf, threatening Tehran if a deal is not reached. Iran's foreign minister has said his nation will not relinquish its right to enrich uranium, but it is willing to discuss to which levels and purity. Talks are expected to continue this week as well. Let's now take a look at some of the other stories from around the world. In Saudi Arabia, Russia is flexing its battle-tested firepower at Riyadh's World Defense Show 2026, unveiling cutting-edge weapons like Kalashnikov sniper rifles able to strike targets 1,200 meters away. Russian funds wowed crowds with its military march. Crowds buzzed over the debut of Sarma multiple rocket system equipped with smart missiles. Experts hailed the gear's real-world upgrades. Historic and deadly floods have devastated Colombia. At least 14 people have been killed and 120,000 displaced after devastating storms. The country's president is considering whether to declare an economic crisis or not. The Latin American nation's Weather Institute has warned of another cold front coming from the Caribbean, bringing more rain and fierce winds. Residents of a quiet town in the Netherlands are taking a stand against a proposed refugee center being set up there. The plan has once again sparked the debate surrounding immigration, a deeply divisive issue in the European nation. In fact, footage showed hundreds of people with torches and banners reportedly marching after a meeting with local officials there. In China, investing in gold could become as simple as visiting an ATM. From gold dispensing machines to copper bars delivered by robots, precious metals are becoming everyday purchases. RT's Konstantin Roskov reports from Beijing.
I'm in a regular shopping mall in Beijing, but these yellow machines behind me aren't selling snacks or sodas, no. They're selling gold. in bars.
Here's how it works. You walk up to one of these so-called gold ATMs, scan the QR code, and pick something you can afford. This tiny 1-gram gold bar costs almost $200, and the price updates in real time. You can actually see it jump while I'm filming this. In the end, I went with a phone sticker that has just a tiny drop of gold in it.
I was told there was just 0.1 gram or about 1/10 of an ounce of gold here. Still, it cost me almost $30. So yeah, it's a small piece, but it represents a much larger trend that is happening worldwide.
Growing global conflicts, along with political and economic instability, are pushing investors towards so-called safe haven assets. Gold prices have surged to record highs, climbing above $5,000 per ounce at the beginning of this year for the first time in history. In China, this is already changing consumer behavior. According to the China Gold Association, people bought more gold bars and coins than traditional jewelry last year. In shopping malls, jewelry stores still occupy prime locations next to luxury car brands. Shoppers may stop to look or even try on expensive earrings and necklaces, but many walk away without making a purchase.
这个多少钱？
这个
我觉得金很贵，金很贵。
对。
For seasoned investors and for people far from the world of finance, gold is no longer just something to wear. It's an investment and even a safety net in an increasingly volatile global environment.
This gold buying spree in China has already spilled over from offline to online shopping on Taobao, one of China's equivalents of Amazon. You can order gold bars and have them delivered to your door the same way you'd order, I don't know, a pair of sneakers. And it's not just gold, but other precious metals too.
Chinese social media is full of videos where people show off their copper stockpiles. Some even give copper bars to their kids as gifts.
喜不喜欢？喜欢。要不要？要。来，送给你了。
And just like gold, copper has been rising in price lately. It's a key material for modern industries, from electric vehicles to AI data centers. So I decided to try it myself and ordered a 1-kilo copper bar straight to my hotel room.
Okay, here it is, my first copper bar. Yeah, we'll see how much it'll cost a year from now, right? And yes, it is common in China now for robots to deliver parcels to your door. You know, they may be technologies of the future, but some of them still rely on the good old resources of the past.
Gold is still volatile. Prices can swing sharply with what traders often call pump and dump moves, making short-term profits hard to predict. But as the old economic order keeps taking hits from sanctions, tariffs, and growing fragmentation, it's no surprise that everyone from governments and hedge funds to ordinary people keeps turning to something proven by time and with real, tangible value. Gold ATMs like these first appeared in early 2025, and today their Chinese operator runs around 150 machines nationwide.
There's also a second ATM here that doesn't sell gold, it buys it. You can drop your old jewelry right here, and then the machine tests it, melts it down, and sends the money straight into your bank account. There's even a live chart with the current gold prices, and of course you can see that day-to-day prices go up and down, but if you zoom out, the upward trend is undeniable. So I guess this is the new world we all live in right now, where you can just go shopping right here. People buy toys for their kids, but then they casually check on the current market prices for gold to see, well, maybe it's time to cash in. This is Konstantin Rashkov for RT from China, Beijing.
And all bark and no bite? Well, Mexico will let some next-generation coppers off the leash for the 2026 Football World Cup. These robo-dogs will join police patrolling the city of Guadalupe, one of the first places to trial the high-tech robotic units trained for surveillance, for monitoring, and for crime prevention. The mechanical mutts, they were unveiled during a presentation on Monday featuring cameras, night vision, as well as warning systems. Let's see if the heel on command ahead of the showpiece tournament. Well, those are the latest developments this hour on RT India. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.